pieces that come together for KKR, but they haven't come together consistently enough and all together. I mean, there's sometimes you have Russell firing, the others miss out. Today Russell's missed out, the others have fired, bowling was off today. I mean, how do you look back at KKR season?
I think that's probably a fair summary of it as well. I mean, they've had to make a lot of changes, and they've also made a lot of changes. So the inconsistency of a number of their players. You think of Shreyas Iyer, the first half of the season to the back half. Probably their most consistent player has been Southee, and then he was the one who was off tonight in terms of his bowling. So I don't think they've been able to put a team performance on at any stage, and that's led to the likes of Venkatesh Iyer and Chakravarti being dropped from the team as retained players. So, no, sorry, we should include Narayan. Narayan's been incredibly consistent as a bowler this year, but as a unit, it just doesn't feel like it's come together consistently.
Is this again, Ravi, a team which a few players were guilty of having a bad season, but is not necessarily a bad team?
Certainly not. I mean, today they showed character. 9 for 2 to respond in that fashion, take the game to the end. Okay, you're knocked out, but you can walk out with your head held high in games like this. But what Danny mentioned earlier, it just couldn't assemble a team. I mean, the number of changes over 14 games was incredible. Where it tells you that you're not sure. It's a very insecure bunch then. When you keep changing and chopping that much, especially at the top with your batting order, then it's very difficult to settle in and play some good, consistent cricket.
I'm glad you brought up the top, Ravi. I mean, again, this last game symptomatic of the issues they've had. Rane was injured, yes, but he hadn't done much in that position. They struggled, Venki Iyer and Abhijit Tomar on debut, to get them away. Do they look for someone else going forward, or is the solution within? Aaron Finch doesn't seem to work. They tried Sam Billings up there, that didn't work. They tried Baba Indrajit. They've tried quite a few players up, but do they need something from the outside at the top of the order? That's a crucial position, isn't it?
They certainly do. Venkatesh is there. I would still persist with him because he had a great season last year. Okay, you've had a few bad games. That doesn't mean you're a bad player. You bounce back. But they need someone at the top in the top order there. They let go of Shubman Gill, who could have been a vital cog in the wheel there at the top of the order. So they've got to find someone for sure.
Where the answer lies in overseas. I mean, I wonder if Alex Hales would not have withdrawn, whether that would have been the answer. But that's speculative at this point. Do they need to go out and find somebody next year? Is that one key position to fill?
I think initially it would have been Hales. I think that he would have got the opportunity because they had limited overseas players at the start. So he would have got the option. So it probably will have to be down the overseas player route, and they'll look again. They'll check on Finch to see where his form is at the time. But the opening partnership is critical to any successful IPL team, and for them to have so many changes, for it to be so inconsistent, never really gave them that platform to actually be a good team, albeit they had some good performances throughout the season. And that's where you question the likes of Shubman Gill. Was Shubman Gill an option to stay with the franchise, Venkatesh Iyer and him together? Is that the basis of an opening partnership that could go on for a number of years? It would have sacrificed one of their other overseas, but it'll be something that potentially will haunt them.
Could they have perhaps found the answer from within this playing group? Nitish Rana has opened for them in the past. They were reluctant to go that route this season. I think you've said before, Rana is so key to them in the middle that you don't want to be putting him up, but they also brought in Rinku Singh only after they had these significant numbers of defeats. Could they have found an answer earlier?
Tricky. They probably don't have the personnel in the end. I think they relied on either Billings or Finch to get it done for them, and unfortunately wasn't able to make it up with one of those individuals. It feels like a nice middle order if they Shreyas Iyer, Nitish Rana and Rinku Singh, if they're 3, 4 and 5, and then you utilise Russell wherever you need to, Narayan wherever you need to. Like we've mentioned about the other teams that have fallen out of the IPL contention, they still look like they've got good teams. It's just certain players are out of form, and in the IPL it just doesn't allow for that.
How do you look back at Shreyas Iyer's first season with the Knight Riders, Ravi, as captain? Form patchy, which we can expect in a long season, but how do you look back at Shreyas and what do you expect from him going forward?
See, even from the captain point of view, when you have that many changes happening, all the time, it's difficult for a captain to settle, into any sort of rhythm. Every game he's trying to identify his own teammates, understand their strengths, their weakness, who's good in pressure situations, who thrives under pressure, those kind of things, because he never had the opportunity. Every second game, there were 2, 3 new players coming in, and it didn't help him in any way. Plus, if his form would have been really, really good, that could have made a difference. But it started affecting his own batting form as well. And therein lies the story for KKR this year.
There's also going to be a question, I guess, among KKR fans, Ravi. Venki Iyer was this retention on the basis of half a season. He's an exciting package, but they don't use the package. They only use the batter. Do you feel somewhere now you think if we were going to use the batter, then we should have tried harder to keep Shubman Gill? I'm just trying to think of whether Venkatesh Iyer is not necessarily the package that he is.
See, Venkatesh Iyer could have been kept, but Shubman Gill was. I was really surprised. You let probably one of the best young talents in world cricket go. When he's young, he's just 22, 23. You have an opportunity to keep him for some length of time. I was really, really surprised. And if you go around that unit, the number of times you didn't have a settled keeper. One day it was Jackson, the other day it was Billings, and Billings, to be honest, didn't quite fit the bill. Okay, right through this tournament. So, they've got a lot of areas to look into.
Yeah, you think that's one position they look at if they look at releases, take advantage of the small auction next year. Pat Cummins is a player we haven't spoken about. Looks like Cummins was underwhelming with ball. Billings, Ajinkya Rahane, these sort of players that you might let go of.
They might trade for De Kock. I think that would solve everything. Opening batsman who keeps. Yeah, I think you want the stability around the keeping position. I think it's such a crucial position, and if that keeper is an opener as well, it solves so many issues. So I think they're going to invest obviously into the auction and fine for that. They're obviously going to have a new coach, a new management that will look at that, and that'll be fascinating in what direction they go.